So going back to the feelings that he's feeling right now, pain and frustration. Well, what does that look like? How does he look in the scene? If you're watching him hack at these yams, how do you think he looks?
He looks like angry.
Yes, angry. He is enraged. Okay.
I like desperate.
Yeah.
Desperate.
I feel
Great.
like because he like has this severed limbs, he's probably like desperate.
Yeah. So coming out of this, I was struck by the other day when you guys talked about the power of literature. I want to read a little quote from that Tori wrote. Literature is so powerful because it allows you to reevaluate you and your own life and beliefs. For when you step away from the context of your own life while reading, you are then always forced to intertwine the perspectives of the author with your own. So there's this sacrament between you and the characters and a common shared experience that when you read about an experience, it informs your own, and then your own experience that you come in informs the way that you interpret the text. So for the next about 5 minutes, we're going to do a free write. So take out your computer, paper, whatever you want to write on. And I want each of you to write about a specific moment from your life, a specific experience where you have felt one of those emotions very intensely. Just free write. Write and write as much as you can. Don't think about who you're writing, just let it come out. The time that you have felt one of those ways. 3 more minutes, right? finish up where you're ready. So we talked a little bit about why I feel like Ted was feeling some of these emotions about a legacy of slavery, about being a descendant from slavery, feeling like he's cursed from God. So in things that you wrote about, I'm curious what kinds of emotions were the foundation of what you were feeling.
Helpless.
So you felt helpless.
Inferiority. That's what.
Yeah, that's right.
Frustration. Disbelief.
Hysteria.
Anger.
It's like a phrase, but like out of my power.
Pain and fear.
Confusion.
Exhausted.
And at the time when you were experiencing this like intensity of emotion, were you aware of what kind of like foundation was going on? Did you know why you were feeling so intensely? Like talk a little bit, you can popcorn around at Harkness and Harkness style about how that experience felt at the time and how it now feels looking back.
I think like when you're in a like really intense emotion, you really gotta analyze it. It's not like mentally what people do.
It's not like you don't think things through. You just kind of like, you just have all this rage or whatever that you have, but you don't really think through what you're doing.
And like in my situation in particular, and I understand more of the situation, but mine was like to a lesser degree, and I felt like I think that I spent that time feeling bad for myself more than like taking the time to understand my emotions and like why I was feeling that way. I was just thinking about like why like it was unfair sort of my situation.
And I think with like physical injuries and like physical pain, you're like you feel so like helpless because you honestly can't do anything about it at the moment. Like when it happens, that's the only thing you can really feel is like anger and frustration because you can like do so little about it.
And
Going back to physical pain, for me, like you get like a tunnel vision, and all you can think about is making it stop.
And that's kind of similar for mental pain, I guess if you could say, because in the moment you're so worked up, and then when you reflect back on it, either you feel like calmed down and you feel good about it, or you just feel worse.
And when you're in a situation like that, you don't spend so much time that's trying to solve the problem as much as just feeling bad for yourself and thinking about how awful your situation is.
And also, I think if it's like something that like frustrates you over like a long time, I think that like the feeling lasts. Like I still feel the same way that I felt then.
When you think about it.
But
When you think about it.
yeah, like I still like my like feelings haven't changed.
It's kind of like a mental scar.
Yeah.
Because like you're constantly reminded of it. Because like other events can happen that are similar, and then they just trigger those past events.
So you're saying that there's different levels of scarring that can occur on people, not just physical scars, but like emotional and mental wounds as well?
When it happens, you kind of, or just I try to like make it, like shrug it off, make it not a big deal, but looking back on it, you realize how much of a scar it actually is.
Also, I feel like crying, just like the physical act of crying, makes you, like when you start crying, you just keep crying and like it gets like harder and harder. I think the more you think about it, like you're crying. And that just like makes it worse in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely think that it'll just like, it's like a downward spiral. And especially with Tet or anyone who's been like enraged, you start out thinking about like what you're angry about, or even if it's physical pain, like you can feel the pain so tangibly. But then like as you go on and your anger just builds, like at least for me, I don't keep thinking about whatever I'm angry about. I just think about the fact that I'm angry, and that makes and I'm angrier and angrier.
I think with like, especially with like mental scarring and stuff like that, I think there's like a lot of things that can trigger it later on. So like you like never really get over it. Like if you like once you like reach that barrier, that can like affect you later on when you think you've overcome it.
It changed your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I encourage us as we continue to read to keep exploring this idea of like universal human experience, emotions, what the characters are feeling, how that helps you understand your own feelings in the world. So we're going to be reading a little bit at the end of class, but before we do that, I want to get some basic plot points figured out or clarified. If there are things that you guys are confused about what's going on, what is Helen's job? Is she servant?